What's up everyone, John V here from PhoneArena.com. You're watching our in-depth video review of the Motorola DROID 3, the latest and third installment of the beloved Motorola DROID series, and this time around it features the usual upgraded specs, but it has a much larger frame than its predecessors just because of its larger display. On top of that, it features global support out of the box, so you'll be able to use this overseas, and you're treated to the usual set of upgraded specs such as a higher resolution display, the dual-core processor, and everything else. So let's see how it stacks up against some of the competition right now in Verizon's lineup. Undeniably, the first thing to capture attention with the handset is its much larger frame. It's longer and wider than its predecessors. At the same time, though, it is more streamlined at half an inch thick, so it's thinner. All in all, it still utilizes that familiar industrial design that we love about the DROID series. It's a little bit, it utilizes a lot more hard lines, not as curvy, a little bit more sharp with its edges. Choice of materials is pretty good, has a tough feel to it, and the soft touch coating in the rear complements everything by making it look clean. It's a lot larger, as we mentioned already, and definitely noticeable in the pockets a little bit more, and there's a little bit of weight too as well. But overall, we're happy with the distinguishable looks that we're usually accustomed to seeing with the Motorola DROID series. Obviously, right off the bat, the first improvement that we see is its much larger 4-inch QHD display, so that's 540 by 960 pixels, and of course the pixel density is going to be pretty awesome with this device. You can tell even with fine text, very easy to make out, pretty sharp overall. Color production is very nice too. You can tell it produces some deep tones, very vibrant, not as vibrant as a Super AMOLED Plus, but really nice still nonetheless. Its viewing angles are a little bit questionable. You can tell just by moving it slightly, it kind of fades out a little bit, and its overall brightness output's not the strongest out there, so we still need to shield it away from the sun in outdoor conditions. We find the usual set of Android capacitive buttons below its display, and the nice thing about it is that you have the lip right here, which allows you to grip it when you hold in landscape, so it reduces any accidental presses. Despite the handset's lack of 4G LTE connectivity, we still find a front-facing VGA camera, so that's 640 by 480, so you can take self-portraits and even video chat. You have the tiny earpiece grill there as well. Meanwhile, on the right edge of the phone, we find a familiar-looking volume rocker, volume up, volume down. It's prominent, easy to feel out, but you gotta really push it down to get a response. Additionally, the same thing can be said about the handset's dedicated power button, which is placed right on top of the handset, just like in the Motorola DROID X2, where you gotta really push it down to get a response. You also have a 3.5mm headset jack. Finally, in the rear, we find the 8-megapixel autofocus camera with an LED flash. You can tell right there it has the ability to shoot 1080p videos. You have the speakerphone grill right here, and also the directional microphone. Removing the back cover is a lot harder this time. You got to yank it off from the top, and once you remove that, you gain access to its battery, SIM card slot, a global handset as we mentioned, and the microSD card slot. It's worth noting it has a built-in of 16 gigabytes of storage. Even now, the handset still utilizes a manual mechanism to open up its keyboard, but once you have it into position, we're agreed to its spacious 5-row QWERTY keyboard layout. We like the fact that it offers a dedicated row for numbers, the directional pad's in place, buttons are flat, you can tell, which contributes to its streamlined approach. They have good size to them, they're spaced close to one another, but the best part is just the clicky response when you push down on them. Definitely one of the best that we've seen of late, and overall, speed typing is not going to be a problem with this handset. Yet another upgrade that we find with the handset is its dual-core 1 GHz Texas Instruments OMAP 4 processor with 512 megabytes of RAM. You can tell just navigating between the home screens here, it's very fluid with its movements, no evidence of any slowdown or lag. Even with the live wallpaper activated here, it's moving quite swimmingly. The same thing can be said about other basic operations such as kinetic scrolling, open up applications. Very gracious with its movements all around. And overall, the performance is pretty good and it rarely slowdowns or lags. We're actually digging the direction that Motorola is taking their customized interface running on top of Android 2.3 Gingerbread. It's no longer being referred to as Motor Blur, but the customized interface here has some similarities to what's found in the Motorola DROID X2. Definitely a lot of personalization with its various widgets. The nice thing about it is that they are resizable to any length and width, so you could change it and automatically will modify itself. On top of that, you have a lot of useful ones such as the calendar, social networking one out right there. A lot of nice looking visuals too with its operation. You can tell when it gets to the favorites, it brings down this nice grid-like panel to it. And you notice those visual cues, there's small things like that which makes the experience so complete here. At the same time, you get back to the home, to the app panel, it's laid out in traditional grid-like view, but switching between them, you have that nice 3D effect going on, and you can tell it's just very polished, we gotta say, and we're definitely liking the experience. As we mentioned already, the best typing experience can be found with the physical keyboard, but if not, you still have the optional on-screen ones, both the stock and even swipe keyboards. It exhibits a really nice responsive feel to it. You can tell it's inputting text right away, instantaneous. It's not laggy or even choppy with its operation. Landscape will give you a little bit larger footprint, and all in all, it's a great messaging experience. Being the top-notch Android smartphone it is, the Gmail experience is naturally going to be fantastic just because of its large display. There's less scrolling needed when reading out long emails. You're treated to the usual set of features such as threaded conversations and the ability to label stuff. In terms of setup, it's pretty simple. Generally, username and password and automatically will set up. As much as we would love to see 4G LTE on board with the handset, you can't win them all, so that means you're going to experience a little bit longer load times for complex web pages like ours here. Still, its operation is pretty decent, not as fluid as we'd like, a little bit more choppy, but you do have flash support, so you get that desktop-like experience. So it's pretty satisfactory, to say the least. The handset utilizes the same looking music player interface found on other recent Motorola handsets out there. It's pretty conventional with its presentation. When you're playing a song, it displays the album cover, track information, on-screen controls, but does offer an alternative way of browsing through songs. When it's placed into landscape, you get that 3D carousel effect, which gives a little bit of eye candy to it. As far as the audio quality with its speaker, it's not as strong as previous Motorola DROID handsets, but even at the loudest setting, it's still more than audible and doesn't sound too strained. It also provides different equalizer settings as well. Mainly due to its faster dual-core processor, the video watching experience is not a problem with the handset. The video we have here is encoded in DivX 1920 by 1080 resolution, so 1080p, a lot of details, and of course the display size contributes to a great experience. We definitely like the smooth playback it exhibits, and overall, it's a great experience. Besides the usual Google applications on board with most Android smartphones, there are quite a few different third-party ones which we'll go through real quick here. You have things like Amazon Kindle, the Blockbuster app, DLNA, City ID, Citrix for your enterprise users, GoToMeeting, you have Let's Golf 2, My Accounts, My Verizon Mobile, Nova, and you also have Quick Office, Skype, Slacker, and you have the usual set of VCast stuff, the VCast Media, Music, Tones, Videos, VZ Navigator as well, and lastly Zoomocast. So here's the camera interface on the handset, and you can tell the viewfinder dominates most of the space on the screen here. On the left-hand side, you have the digital zoom controls, you have your shutter key on the right, you have the toggle here to switch to video and front-facing camera, the gallery up in the top left, and the bottom left area here is this movable panel, which gives you different options such as the resolution for video capture and still images, effects, the scene modes, and the manual settings as well. A pretty decent amount. It'll piece most people out there. It's center weighted by default, but you can move it anywhere that you want. Even with its sizable 8-megapixel sensor in the back, we're not all that impressed with its picture quality. Strangely, it works in a weird way just because it does better indoors than it does outdoors. Outdoors under natural lighting, it produces some soft-looking details, very faint with its tones. Color production, though, is on the cooler side, and it tends to look a little bit overexposed, whereas indoors under artificial lighting, the detail's a little bit better, a little more distinguishable and sharper. Color production's a little bit on a neutral side, though with the LED flash, it's able to illuminate the scenery, but if it's completely pitch black, you're not going to get any focus whatsoever. Fortunately, the handset's 1080p video capture fares a little bit better than its still image quality. With 1080p videos, it shoots at the consistent rate of 29 frames per second, as long as you have sufficient lighting. If not, it'll drop down to as low as 26 frames per second in our experience. You can tell the quality here is pretty decent. Details are pretty neutral, not the sharpest out there, but more than distinguishable. On top of that, it's not choppy with its movement. Audio recording is pretty good just because it's clear and noise-free, and it does offer continuous autofocus, so it'll keep things looking sharp at all times. For the most part, we're pretty satisfied with the handset's calling quality. On our end of the line, the earpiece produced some strong tones, which in turn yield some prominent voices that have a clear and distinctive tone to them. On top of that, there's no background noise or static to ruin the experience. On the other end of the line, though, our callers did say that our voices sound rather choppy in tone, but still, they're able to make us out. With the speakerphone, however, it's not the strongest with its tones, so it's kind of lacking with its output. Voices do tend to sound a little bit on the muffled side. Signal strength seems to be pretty good with the handset during our testing. It didn't drop any phone calls and doesn't fluctuate abruptly. Battery life is still something that's much desired with the handset, just because it doesn't quite hit that mark of a 1 day's usage. In fact, in our testing, we managed to get close to the 15-hour mark before a recharge. But for most people, an 8-hour work shift will be fine. Unless you're a heavy user, then you might want to constantly charge this as much as you can. As far as call quality, and with a single charge, we managed to get 8 hours of talk time. Without a doubt, we love the substantial upgrade found with the Motorola Droid 3 versus its predecessor, and it's by far the biggest jump we've seen yet in series. You can tell with the overall size, a much larger handset, as we mentioned already, but the fact that it offers a phenomenal keyboard is just one of the great things about the device. It seems like Motorola addressed most of the stuff with it, and for any text messenger out there, this is probably going to be a dream phone, just because the keyboard works so well. On top of that, you have some huge jumps in the hardware side, such as the larger display, high resolution, the dual-core processor, the front-facing camera. Everything just seems to be very well-rounded, and the customized platform experience is really nice too. A lot of visual effects in play with it, and we like what Motorola is doing with it so far. So in the end, it's something you really want to think about, especially if you're in the market for a new smartphone. Even though it doesn't offer 4G LTE connectivity, it's still pretty respectable in its own right. So if you'd like to learn more about the Motorola Droid 3, you can check it out at our website, phonearena.com. And as usual, guys, thanks for watching.